And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. We are, running through the season. It's already November. It is review of Week 10. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. Dominating performance by Georgia.
Yes.
27-13. That's not indicative of how well Georgia played. This is probably one of the most dominant performances we've seen in quite some time against two top-ranked teams like that.
Yeah, completely dominated them, shut them down. Georgia got the football first, fumbled. Tennessee was in really good territory, looking to do what Tennessee does, jumping on teams really early. And Georgia's defense shut them down. They hit the field goal, and then it was basically over. That next drive, Stetson Bennett ran a TD in. Drive or two later, they had a touchdown pass to Ladd McConkey after what I thought was a safety of them sacking Hooker in the end zone. But they get another touchdown late in the second quarter, kick a field goal, and it was basically 24-3 or 24-6. My bad. End of the first quarter, and it was not even that close.
No.
Second half, it started to rain.
Yes.
Luckily, where we sit, it was club level, so there was no rain. It kind of took me a minute to kind of like really grasp it. Like, holy crap, dude, it's coming down.
Yeah.
So Georgia took the foot off the gas, 28 plays, 24 runs, 4 passes in the second half alone. They only managed 3 points in the second half, but they weren't really trying. You could tell they were just running the football, trying to kill clock. They had like a 9-minute drive, and they didn't score. They had some penalties. I think they would have if there was some penalties. But, Tennessee kept getting bailed out on 3rd and long by pass interference calls on Georgia. They kept sacking Hooker. 4th down, they sacked him, but they grabbed his face mask and they get a fresh set of downs. Didn't even matter. Completely dominating performance. A lot of Tennessee fans are online this week saying, well, really, we won the second half. And, just reach in there. Here you go. I got a bar stool for you right here. Get up on this thing and reach a little bit higher. Trying to put silver linings on this game that, we had our shots. We just didn't make them. Completely shut down. Tennessee had a nice run as number 1 in the country 1 week. Good for them. Yeah. Georgia was clearly the better team all the way around.
Mm-hmm. And that crowd was out of control.
They were loud. I guess they were pissed about Eric Ainge tweeting that Sanford wasn't a loud stadium. They were loud. Listening to Josh Pate's late kick. He was on the sideline for this game. He said his ears were ringing. Great atmosphere. Tons of recruits in attendance. Huge game like that. They're going to bring in the top recruits, but it's dominating performance by Georgia. Can't say that word enough because that's exactly what it was.
Yes, that's one of the most dominant performances seen in quite some time. Ohio State knocked off Northwestern 21-7. Like a lackluster performance for Ohio State against Northwestern.
Yeah, I didn't see any of this game because it was going on around the same time as the game we were at, but it looked like they struggled. I kind of come to find out later it was like gale force winds coming off, the lake there at Northwestern. And, that's going to put some, give a team like Ohio State that likes to throw the football, it's going to give them problems. Right. You can't throw the football because that ball is going to go blown all the way around in the air. You got to run it. And, they won handily. I don't think this game was really ever in doubt for them. But obviously Ohio State fans would like to see them beat Northwestern by a lot bigger margin, considering Northwestern is what?
1-8.
1-8. But, it is what it is. Yeah. Bad weather. Playing in the rain is one thing. This was like a nor'easter kind of deal. Something like that from what I had heard. So I don't really blame Ohio State for struggling.
No. But, win in advance, 9-0
exactly.
Ohio State. As for another undefeated team that they got knocked down this weekend, Clemson lost to Notre Dame. After a slow start by Notre Dame, they've actually tried to salvage their season. They won 35-14. DJ's in trouble.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's hitting the portal. Clemson's out of it. This was a loss to an unranked team. And like you said, Notre Dame's been playing really, really well as of late. I'm just looking at that score. It's 14-0 at the half. Nobody scores in the third. Clemson gets 14 in the fourth, but Notre Dame gets 21. I wonder how Notre Dame's points really came about there. Did Clemson make a game of it, or was it all just mop up garbage time that they scored. I don't know. I didn't see this game. Didn't see the highlights. You kind of can tell we're running late this week. I had someplace to be really early Sunday morning. I just got back yesterday. But I want to say it was like 21-0 when I checked it. But anyway, I got home from the game and turned this game on in time to see Notre Dame fans rushing the field. Right. So great win by the Irish. Really kind of salvages their season to knock off a top 4 team like that. But great win.
Yeah, absolutely. Michigan knocked off Rutgers 52-17. Of course, didn't see any of this. We're at the tailgate, but Michigan's looking good. Yeah,
I got to give a shout out to my good buddy Patrick and my buddy Andy, who was with us at the game. He's a Michigan fan. He had this game on record. This was a night game, and he was doing everything he could not to check the score on the car ride home. But I got to give both him and Patrick a shout out. They were nervous for a little bit of the game. This game obviously really wasn't in doubt all that much. Yeah, it was a little closer than they would have liked in the first half, but once again, the tandem of Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, both of them going for over 100 yards rushing, put this game out of reach second half. And I don't really think, most people would have really worried, but there are 2 diehard fans that did worry, kind of like we are. But, great win for Michigan. They are undefeated still, getting ready for that big game against Ohio State. And look, they're running the football, in my opinion, way better than they did last year. So they might go a little bit further than last year. You never know.
Alabama lost to LSU 32-31. Brian Kelly has come to the SEC and made some noise here in the past month.
That dude was getting crap from everybody, and myself included. I still don't think he's the best fit, but whatever. Yeah. The dude can coach football. That's never been disputed. I just think it's funny having a guy from Boston and Baton Rouge, Louisiana, coaching. But he's done a great job ever since that first loss this season to Florida State. Jaden Daniels looks awesome. I think it's number 3 in the country in touchdown to interception ratio. And I did watch the second half of this game. And LSU was taking it to him pretty good, and Bama came back. Got to give Bryce Young credit. That dude scrambles and makes plays. The offensive line's crap. The wide receivers are okay. I think he's got good wideouts. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs is great running back. He's got weapons. But, man, that dude seems like he's got to scramble, and every time he does, he's making a touchdown pass. And I got to give hand it to him. They came back. They were down. They were going for the win late. Got stopped. Had to kick the field goal. And, they both scored touchdowns in overtime. LSU. I had a feeling that when they scored, they were going to go for 2.
Right.
Really cool play by Daniels. Nice running play. Great block out front to spring him free. And I kind of had a feeling before it got, they lined up. I was like, I bet they go for 2 here. Do you really want to keep trying this against Alabama? Just go for the knockout blow when you can. And they did. Great play call. Kid was wide open. That's Jason Taylor's son. Jason Taylor from Miami Dolphins. That's his son. Got the winning 2-point conversion. But great win for LSU. Alabama, 2 losses. They're out of it. They're probably going to the Capital One Bowl. Or Outback maybe, depending on what Tennessee does. Yeah. But great win for LSU. Yeah. Huge signature win for Brian Kelly. As much as I hate to admit it.
Good for LSU. They righted the ship. Man, that Florida State loss is really looming large right now.
I tell you what, their fans, they were going bananas as well.
I moved right along. TCU remains undefeated, knocks off Texas Tech 34-24. They just keep on winning.
They do, and they needed they needed it in that second half. They needed a big fourth quarter to seal this victory, and they came up with it. Kind of, one of those games where you face a little bit of adversity, and they've had a few of those this season, and they make the most of it, and they come back for the win. They got a huge game this week against Texas. Texas is favored. TCU's got to win out.
Yeah.
I won't say convincingly anymore, but they got to win out.
Moving right along, Oregon knocked off Colorado 49-10. Bo Nix may be Heisman Trophy candidate.
He's in the discussion. I saw today. Yeah. He's like one of the top 5 guys in the discussion, which I think is hilarious.
Yes.
Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making the most of his final season. Yes. Good Lord, he is.
Yes. USC knocked off Cal 41-35. Seems like we keep seeing the score from Southern Cal. They They score 41, give up like 35 points.
Yeah.
It's like every week it's the same score.
Defense was playing a lot better at the beginning of the year. But they were without a lot of guys in this game. I'm wondering how much that played into it. Cal's not that good, but I picked USC to make the playoff. I thought with Lincoln Riley and all those transfers they brought in, they were going to be great in a weak conference. And man, was I wrong. Well, I'm not going to say I was wrong 100% about USC. I was wrong about the conference. This is best conference this year to follow for college football. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams who are still alive to do something here. Speaking of another team that's in the Pac-12, UCLA knocked off Arizona State 50-36. They're 8-1.
Yeah, 8-1, 5-1 in the Pac-12. Another team that's right there in the hunt, can score a boatload of points. Defense, you never know if they're going to show up. But I mean, they're if I'm not mistaken, they still got to play USC at the end of the season. They've redone the Pac-12. The whole divisions are gone. The schedule's revamped. So I don't really know exactly who's got to play who left. But I mean, you got a lot of teams fighting these last couple weeks for that championship game appearance.
And if one of these teams can manage to go, 12-1 or 12-1, win their conference title game, they're in it.
Yeah, quite possibly because I'm sure we'll talk about the playoffs here in a second. But I'm a big proponent. If you can't even get to your conference championship game, you have no business in the playoffs.
Yeah. Texas knocked off Kansas State 34-27. Texas is hanging in there. Yeah, they got a big one this week against TCU.
They do, and I was really, really surprised that Kansas State lost this game because they've been playing excellent football as of late. But I think, maybe they just had one too many perfect performances, maybe, in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. Played a couple of virtually flawless games, and it's just kind of their luck ran out. I want to say luck because they didn't get lucky. They played well, but maybe they just didn't have it in the tank. They just couldn't get this game rolling.
It's hard to be dialed in every game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Utah knocked off Arizona 45-20. Didn't see any of this game.
No, I caught some highlights. I always check out Utah's highlights, talking to my boss about it. But, again, another Pac-12 team, one loss. Pac-12 team, they handed USC the loss, so they'll have the tiebreaker against them. Look, they're a 2-loss team on the season because they lost to Florida. But they're still right there in the thick of things in the Pac-12.
Yeah. And you look at that first game of the season. Was it the first game of the season?
It was the first game of the season.
Yeah. They're from Utah. They go all the way to Gainesville, which is hot, humid, muggy. Had to play a factor in that game. Had to play a factor. Probably not the best place to play a game, first game of the season, if you're from a dry, arid region.
Rising didn't play particularly great that game. And I think not only has Rising, but Utah's learned some things about their own offensive capabilities that I think if they played today, Utah would probably beat them by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, clearly. Moving right along, Penn State knocked off Indiana 45-14. Penn State.
Yeah, good for Penn State.
Yeah. And a game that kind of hurt our game plan to go into the Big Ten championship game. Illinois lost to Michigan State 23-15.
Dumpster fire that is Michigan State after the huge debacle that this entire season has been for them, and then you throw in the mix that 8 guys are out suspended indefinitely because of the brawl in the tunnel at Michigan. They pull off an upset of Illinois, 23-15. Man, I was bummed when I saw this score on the stadium scoreboard at Sanford. I wanted Illinois to win so bad. I was pulling for them. Jerry was with us, sitting in the stands, watching on his phone, checking the scores. It seemed like every minute. And they just couldn't pull it out. I was bummed. He was bummed. We were all bummed. We have plans to go, and we talked about it at the tailgate. We have plans to go to the Big Ten championship game, providing Illinois makes it, which I think they will. They've got to win this week against Purdue, and then their tickets punched. But I was really disappointed. I really wanted them to beat Michigan State and kind of seal that this week.
North Carolina knocked off Virginia 31-28. Drake May is really having himself a heck of a season.
Yeah, ever since that first game, he hasn't played excellent, not a single bit of drop-off. They still don't play a ton of defense, but man, look at that, dude. They're 8-1 on the season, 5-0 in the ACC. Who would have thunk it?
Well, I know you spent the past 2 years talking about North Carolina. They're going to do some amazing things this year. And they're probably doing it.
And then this year, without Sam Howell, all those running backs, all those wide receivers, all of a sudden they're doing this year what I thought they were going to do the last 2 years, and I was down on them this year. But, they're looking like they are ready to go to the ACC championship game.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Oklahoma State is just falling off the table here. 16-37 against Kansas.
Maybe they can right the ship and have a respectable season, go 9-3, then 10-3 with a bowl win. Gundy gets another 9-10 win season, which is great for him. He's a quality coach. That's a good program. But really, if they win 9-10 games a year, he's golden.
Yeah.
But there's always that disappointment because, so close, so many years.
And you look the way the Big Ten or the Big 12 is these days, and Oklahoma's being down. Oklahoma State really had an opportunity to really do some things this year. They did. And because, well, you're going to have Texas there next year. Mm-hmm. I think this will be last season. Maybe we have 2 more years with Texas.
I think it's 2 more,
2 more years. Well, you're sitting there, and now you've got a rising power in Texas is going to be stealing some more recruits there. They had an opportunity this year to do something special, and they just can't seem to keep it together. Tulane knocked off Tulsa 27-13.
Tulane's a great story this year. They've got some killer uniforms. I love some of those color schemes they got.
Green Wave.
Yeah.
Was it Syracuse? They lost to Clemson?
They lost to Clemson, then they lost to Notre Dame, then they lost to Pitt. So they lost to Clemson 3 times.
Yes, pretty much. Pittsburgh knocked them off 19-9.
Pittsburgh is 5-4. Tennessee's win against Pittsburgh does not look so good now.
No.
What was their win against Alabama, in my opinion? But hey.
Wake Forest in a squeaker knocks off NC State. Oh, excuse me. My eyes are playing tricks on me. NC State knocked off Wake Forest 30-21.
Wake Forest is like, I don't get it. You don't think they're going to be good, and then all of a sudden they're really good. Like, Hartman's kicking ass, he's throwing all these touch passes, and they get blown out. Horrible performance, and then they come back and have a nice win, and then they lose a game like this. NC State's playing with a true freshman QB, and their offense is anemic. Right. How do you lose to these guys? But Wake Forest, they just kind of keep proving, well, we're a smart kid school.
Yeah.
We're going to pretend we play football for a few weeks, but it's not going to last.
Yeah, and the last team in the top 25, USC knocked off Memphis 35-28.
Gus Malzahn's got them playing pretty good. They're 7-2, 4-1 in the American Conference. Look, quarterback isn't that good in my opinion, all right? John Rice Plumlee, his accuracy leaves a lot to be desired, which is probably one reason why Lane Kiffin had the guy at wide receiver, because he's a world-class athlete. He's a great runner.
Right.
Ran the hell out of the football at Ole Miss as well. The guy Bowser, the running back they got these scat backs, they got good wideouts. Gus Malzahn's throwing the football around the yard. Mm-hmm. Got to give him credit. He's maybe rejuvenated his career at Central Florida in Orlando. Got out of the SEC, got out of the shadow of having to play Georgia, Alabama, and LSU all the same year. Dude's coaching pretty well.
And Gus seems to have a knack for taking these guys that can have talent for multiple positions, put them in quarterback, and have some success with them.
Yeah.
So I guess let's talk about this week's games. Well, they're already underway.
Yeah, we already missed a couple of them yesterday.
So yesterday you got Akron, Eastern Michigan played, Ball State, Toledo. And right now you got Kent State, Bowling Green playing one another, Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, Buffalo, Central Michigan. It's that time of the year you're starting to get those Tuesday, Wednesday matchups.
Yep. You got nothing going on. It's fun football to watch. It's usually high scoring and exciting.
Yeah.
But a lot of people forget about it.
Yeah, it's like, I forget what it is, but it's like the minute November hits, you get like 19 days straight of football every year. It's crazy. Moving right along, the Thursday matchup, you got Tulsa.
Memphis might be a nice offensive output. It's kind of worth tuning into.
Yeah. Georgia Southern will be taking on Louisiana.
Oh, there we go. Friday night, Colorado at USC at 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be watching that game.
It'll be an interesting matchup there. Let's get back to the Saturday games. Indiana will be taking on Ohio State at noon. Snoozer.
Yeah.
Tennessee will try not to lose twice. Don't want to be beat by Georgia twice. We'll take on Missouri at 12 o'clock on CBS. That's a 12 o'clock game.
And LSU at Arkansas could be a sneaky good game if KJ's healthy and playing. That definitely gives Arkansas a chance. Notice, I kind of put the emphasis on the word chance because I don't really think LSU's going to lose. No. Too much going for them right now. They know just keep it rolling. They should beat everybody else on their schedule and go to the SEC championship game. But you never know. Yeah. Stranger things have happened, and Arkansas is definitely not a pushover. No. They're going to put up a fight. They always do. I expect them to be down 21-0 and end up coming back and it being like 21-17 in like late in the third quarter or something.
Yeah. Let's keep it, make it interesting.
Yeah.
Notre Dame taking on Navy at noon. Let's see. Illinois
12 o'clock.
Purdue. Big game.
At Illinois. Here we go. That's the game I will be watching as well. I'll probably have that on the big screen just so I can pull for the Fighting Illini.
Yeah. The fighting Brett Bielema's.
Yeah, the flying Brett Bielema's. Yeah. Just gonna nickname him like the Illinois Brats or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Kentucky's got Vandy at noon. a game that probably would have been bigger in any other year. Oklahoma, West Virginia.
Still good watching JT Daniels throw. He doesn't have the best players on his team, but he makes throws. And last few weeks, some of his guys have been making some unreal catches.
Yeah. Moving right along, you got Michigan against Nebraska at 3:30.
Nebraska goes into the big house. Michigan should roll, but
a game with huge implications. Alabama, Ole Miss.
Yep. Must win for Ole Miss if they want to stay in the SEC West hunt.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They've got one loss on the year. It's to LSU. So they've got LSU's got a loss.
Right. Clemson and Louisville. That's going to be in Clemson. That'd be 7:30 start.
I'm kind of just hoping Clemson wins because Louisville's one of those NIL people.
You'd hate to see Clemson lose 2 in a row.
That would be fun. Can they both lose?
Yeah. Penn State's got Maryland 3:30 as well. NC State, Boston College. Now, here's an interesting matchup. UCF against Tulane, 3:30.
3:30. That's kind of a good game.
$17.
I have no idea what conference Tulane is in, but I'm imagining that it's probably a conference game this late in the year. Yeah. Probably the game that's going to decide the American, maybe.
Yep. I would say.
Or go a long way to deciding.
Here's an interesting game. Miami, Georgia Tech. That's it. Bobby Dodd. We should just roll up with that.
Georgia Tech's looking better since they fired the coach. Yeah. Miami just looks like crap all year long.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. We got Georgia, Mississippi State at 7 o'clock.
That's gonna be a tough game for the Dogs. Yeah. I hate saying that after what happened last Saturday, but yeah, you never know. You come off a huge win at home. You got to go to Mississippi State. I don't think Mississippi State's that good. Mm-hmm. They can sling the football around the yard, but Georgia has proven they can cover. They can rush. They can rush the passer, disrupt things. Georgia's offense is really, really, really good and really balanced.
Right.
A lot of guys can beat you. I picked Georgia to win this game, and I picked them to win probably about 14, 17 points. Yeah. But it could go a little squirrely.
Yeah. The way they've been playing the past few weeks, I don't really see it being much of a contest. However, it's Mississippi State.
Yeah,
it's
you
Michael
never know. Them cowbells might start getting in folks' ears and making some crazy things.
Yep. Interesting game. Washington at Oregon at 7 o'clock. It could be an interesting game. Ramifications, of course. Oregon wins, they advance.
Yeah, they gotta stay unbeaten in conference. Washington already has a couple of losses, so they're pretty much out of it. Yeah. But I'm sure they'd like to ruin Oregon's season.
Yeah, Kansas State at Baylor again at 7. These are some really good matchups next week. A game that's of a lot of interest to me is this TCU Texas game, 7:30. Game day's going to be there. You can get a ticket for $5.
That's freaking stupid.
Yeah.
Well, how is that $5? That's got to be like a typo. 500 maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Shit, if it's $5, we need to go.
Yeah.
7:30 at night. Watch the Georgia game on our phones.
Yeah, fly into Austin.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
It's barbecue.
Partied up in Austin.
Yeah, apparently the whole thing is keep Austin weird. Let's get weird in Austin.
North Carolina against Wake Forest. Let's hope North Carolina doesn't shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going for North Carolina, and in that TCU Texas game, I got to go for TCU.
Yeah. And the game, let's see who sucks worse. Or Texas A&M against Auburn.
A&M's going to win, but a bunch of their commits are decommitting. I heard there's a lot of kids from that number 1 class that are going to be hitting that portal. Mm-hmm. Jimbo's days are numbered in College Station.
You think so?
I think he's done. Look at that. Utah at home against Stanford. Let's go Utes. Beat the hell out of them. Yeah. I want to see a 48-0 score.
And then we have UCLA taking on Arizona at 10:30 Saturday night.
Real good slate of games this coming week.
Yeah.
Really good slate of games.
Yeah.
Let's run down the playoff teams real quick.
Let's go to standings and click on that. See what we can do for
you. Got Tennessee was number 1. They got beat by the Dogs. So Georgia who got dropped down to, what was it?
3.
3. They jump up. They're number 1. Ohio State, 2. Who was at 3?
Michigan.
Michigan, and then they had Clemson at 4.
Yeah.
Clemson's out, and now TCU's at 4. Tennessee's at 5. Oregon at 6.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Tennessee's at 5 is good because the number 1 team lost to the number 3 team. Yeah, they'll drop the 5 out. But I really disagree with the fact that they're like even remotely still in the conversation for the playoffs. Yeah, 2 of the teams in the top 4 have to play each other in Michigan and Ohio State, which is going to knock one of them out unless really close game. I could maybe see Ohio State drop into that number 4 spot,
right,
and then kind of holding that spot for the championship weekend, and then eventually get overtaken by some of the teams that win the championship games. Michigan loses that game. Michigan's out of the top 4. But here's where it gets interesting. Oregon, they win this next game against a ranked opponent. They've got to jump Tennessee, you think, right? Same thing with LSU. Beating Arkansas, they got to jump. USC is primed to jump up.
Mm-hmm.
So is Ole Miss. It looks like Alabama could jump up this list, but they need a lot of help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could see them jumping up like within the 5 to like the 7. They're right 9 right now, but like I'm just kind of seeing how things play out. Alabama's done. The 2 losses, they're out. Ole Miss is still alive, 1 loss, but they need a lot of help. I have no idea how Clemson's in the top 10. They're done. They've just lost to an unranked team. They're out of it, and they play cakewalk in the ACC.
Yes.
So really, if you're Tennessee, you need TCU, which is at 4 to lose probably this week against Texas. That's the biggest test. You need Oregon and LSU to go down, and I think you also need USC to drop. Because one of these teams, you got Oregon and USC, conference championship matchup. If they all have 1 loss, the winner of that's got to overtake Tennessee. A 1-loss conference championship has to be in over a 1-loss, not a team that can't even make their conference title game. The playoff committee has always said conference championships matter.
Right.
Well, show me. Because you're going to have a bunch of these teams in the top 10 playing in their conference championships, most likely.
Mm-hmm. What interests me is this Ohio State-Michigan situation. Throughout the course of the season, they have probably been one of the best top 4 teams in the country.
Yes, consistently the top 4 teams in the country.
Well, they're going to knock each other out.
Yep.
One of these 2 teams are going to lose.
But I mean, that's kind of the point. Like that's what makes college football great. These are finally. I like the playoff expanding.
Right.
But that's just because I'm selfish.
Yes.
I like football. But I mean, in reality, 4 is the best because if without 4, last week's game Georgia Tennessee doesn't really matter.
Right.
This final game of the season, Ohio State Michigan doesn't matter. They can just both get in the next week. These games matter. They're playing for a whole lot.
Yes.
The loser of that game is probably done. And the only way I can see him is a close game and Ohio State gets knocked off. That's the only way. And I still don't think that's reasonable. Because I honestly believe one of USC or Oregon is winning that Pac-12 championship.
I agree.
And getting in. If somehow Utah jumps into the mix and plays Oregon and wins, Utah's not going. They've already got 2 losses.
Right.
So that would really help Tennessee.
The 2-loss teams are out of the equation, in my opinion. So you're going to get Georgia, the winner of Ohio State, Michigan. If TCU continues to win, they're in. And
if they win out, I'm not going to say Georgia. They've got to win out.
Right. Of course.
So does TCU.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they all do.
Who's to say Ohio State doesn't lose this weekend? You don't know. But the way things are trending, Oregon is still alive. TCU is still alive. If one of these Pac-12 teams is one loss team, they win the conference, they're in. Mm-hmm. TCU, even if between now and the end of the season they have 1 loss, I think they're probably going to get in. And the winner of Ohio State, Michigan.
It's going to be interesting because Tennessee beat the crap out of LSU. Mm-hmm. That's their 1 SEC loss, and it's to an Eastern Conference team.
Right.
Ole Miss needs them to lose, and Ole Miss stays or wins out the rest of the way just to get in because they've got the tiebreaker over Ole Miss because they beat Ole Miss. You figure if LSU loses to Georgia in the SEC championship game, that's got to help Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Tennessee beat the crap out of them. But I mean, I still look. It does not sit right with me at all for a team that can't even make their conference title to get in. It's happened before. They put Alabama in, but let's face facts. Tennessee and Alabama aren't the same animal right now. I'm not knocking Tennessee. If any Tennessee fans are still watching this episode after all the shit I talked about, good for you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But nothing, not to knock them, but I don't see it happening.
No.
You're not in the same plane as Alabama was in 2017.
Right. So I guess begs the question: are there going to be two teams from the same conference in the playoff?
I don't think so.
I don't think there is either.
Not this year.
So
happened last year. I don't think it's happening again.
no, I think they would try to get. I mean, since Alabama and Clemson are kind of out of the equation now, I think they're going to make it a point to get a team from the Big 12 and the Pac-12 if they can. If they're a one-loss team, they're in.
Yeah.
If they're the champion, of course.
This is what makes it fun.
It does. A lot of speculation, and somebody could lose. They're not supposed to lose this weekend and just completely screw the whole game up.
Yep.
And then you might be talking about a two-loss team sneaking in here. But that concludes this week's episode of Hook and Ladder.
Appreciate you guys watching.
Absolutely.
It's getting awesome.